a world where the number of movies available is great, but many are so bad, you'll learn a new definition of hate. One man sifts and reviews through the movie sludge. One man will be the movie cop, jury, and judge. He goes by many names, but you know him by Movies Merica.
Man, that bullet train sounds like no joke. Roll that intro. Hey, you beautiful movie-loving people out there. Live from a red carpet somewhere, surrounded by celebrities. This is the Movies Merica podcast with Van Ebert, where movie reviews meet cold brews. Van will review your favorite and maybe not so favorite movies while enjoying some ice-cold beers and saying cheers. Now let's head into the theater and join our illustrious movie reviewer du jour, who's no doubt got the beer ready to pour, Van Ebert. Whoa, hey everybody, welcome to Movies Merica Podcast. Come on in. We got new movies again this week. Yeah, so our last episode, we had to go back in time a little bit to 2017, but this week, the movie gods have smiled on us kindly and have given me a new movie worth reviewing to bring for your listening pleasure. Yes, today I bring you Pew 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 Bullet Train.
Hi, there's a gun on.
Shh, run. It's the quiet car. Gotta use your small inside voice in here, son.
There's a gun.
Talk to me.
I am ready. You are getting the new and improved me. Because if you put peace out in the world, you get peace back.
I think you might be forgetting what you do for a living. Take the gun.
Every job I do, somebody dies. I'm not that guy anymore.
Some conflicts require a gun.
Hey, this is nice. Okay, what am I snatching and or grabbing?
A briefcase. You said you wanted simple for your first job back. Doesn't get simpler.
Well, Miss Congeniality, while you were sleeping, the gravity of the situation just went up a few notches. So, if you couldn't tell from that voice, that was Sandra Bullock. And yes, she does have a bit part in this movie, Bullet Train, yes. But before we let the bullets fly, let me let you know about some of the core information that I need to share with you. Okay, so as you may very well know, these Movies Merica podcast episodes are on Apple Podcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, and many other fine platforms featuring fine podcasts. Absolutely. And then if you're on Apple Podcasts, feel free to zip on down to the very bottom of all my episodes and go ahead and give me a 5-star rating there if you so please on those funky 5 stars down there. And then also there's a write a review button right by those funky 5 stars. So while you're down there anyway, you know what? You might as well spend a minute or two just writing me a review. Hey, that rhymes. I like that. And so, just be honest. Tell me, hey, this podcast is the bane of my existence or it's the reason I still want to live. Yes. And then also, if you go to the very top right, there's the ellipsis, the 3 dots. If you click in there, and then if you click a follow show, that'll download the episodes for you automatically. Yes. And then also the podcast episodes are on moviesmerica.com, of course. Also, where you can reach me is on Twitter and Instagram under Movies Merica as well. And I put out posts out there and whatnot, stuff that tickles my funny bone and stuff I think might be interesting. And also, if you want to contact me out there and let me know like any movies you want me to review, any advice you have for me that you feel would make the podcast more entertaining and more appealing to you, by all means, I am totally open to suggestions. Totally. Because I realize I'm not Mr. Perfect, So, I could always use a tip or two, So always trying to make this thing better. Yeah. I think I can make this thing better. Yeah, absolutely. So, all right. That's a Roxanne quote from '87. Steve Martin. Now, that's an obscure reference, huh? Yeah. All right. So, hey, let's get down to one of the crucial, essential parts of each Movies Merica podcast episode, and that is introducing to the adoring audience what beer I will be drinking, what brew I will be imbibing tonight, because this is the home where movie reviews meets ice-cold brews. And tonight's lucky brew, I'm looking at you, Dallas Blonde. Yep, that's right. Dallas Blonde from Deep Ellum Brewing in Dallas, Texas. Yes. I'm a Dallas Blonde. She's looking good. I'm going to drink her in. Oh, yeah. So, hey, let me take a tug off this bad boy. Or, sorry, bad girl. That is super smooth. Absolutely. All right. So let's get into Pew 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 Bullet Train. Yes. So Bullet Train, first off, it is directed by a guy named David Leitch. Yes. And just to give you a little bit of David Leitch's filmography, he also directed Deadpool 2 with Ryan Reynolds, of course. And the Fast and Furious Presents Hobbs and Shaw, the little Fast and Furious spinoff. Also did Atomic Blonde with Charlize Theron, or is that how we're pronouncing her name this week? I don't know. It always changes, so I can't keep up. So it's Theron, I don't know, Theron, who knows? But this is as I'm sure you can tell from the trailer, this is an action movie. It's got some comedy in it. It's got a bunch of whiz bang, kicks are flying, punches are thrown. There's a lot of kinetic, frenetic energy in this movie. And it stars Brad Pitt. Yeah, you may have heard of that guy. Yeah, he's been in a couple movies. And I think my 45,000 feet up in the air take on this movie, a very, overly simplistic take on the movie, is I think it's a combination of Smoking Aces and Snowpiercer with a whole lot of Guy Ritchie, from like Lock, Stock, and 10 Smoking Barrels and Snatch, all mixed in. There, it's just a very hyperactive action comedy is what it is. And it is what it is. It's not excellent. It's not terrible. I can tell it was directed by David Leitch, just based off of his previous work. Now, I think up to this point, Deadpool 2 is his masterpiece. Okay, that's his magnum opus so far. But this is kind of more in the lines of Hobbs and Shaw, one of his lesser efforts, I would say, because I like the action. I think the thing that really helped this movie out for me and got it started off on the right foot with me is I just appreciate the fact that it's an original movie. Okay. In this day and age, like ask me 25 years ago, the idea of having original content wouldn't really speak to me that much. I mean, it wouldn't really be that big a deal. But, now that we're in the era of recycled IP over and over and over again, franchise after franchise, sequel after sequel, and, DC and Marvel and Star Wars. all these franchises. It's just fantastic to get an original movie. And so any original movie is automatically going to start out, above the hole in the ground, right? It's never going to start in the hole with me. Okay, I just appreciate original content, and I really hope, as I always say about every original content movie that I review, I really hope people get out there and check this out. Okay, so because it's worth going to the theater and checking it out. I mean, it does have a lot of spectacle for the eyes. It's got a lot of ooh and ah, in it. So it's worth checking it out. And, like I said, it has a lot of action. So it really makes good use of the movie theater speakers. I mean, obviously some movie theaters sound systems are better than others, but it's still, some good, bam, pow, kapow, kind of action, and makes it definitely worth your time to go see it at the movies. So, because it is an entertaining 2 hours. It's like 2 hours and 6 minutes. So yeah, you're going to be able to kind of just forget about life and just be entertained by this thing. It's going to hold your attention. I guarantee it. So, yeah, I mean, the one thing about the writing in this thing, and it's not a major gripe, but the writing most of the time it's just really trying too hard to be funny. Okay. That's one of the knocks on Marvel movies now, especially like Thor: Love and Thunder that just came out. It's trying, it's just bending over backwards, trying to be funny. I knew a girl once, and she always used to tell me, because I can relate to this, she always used to tell me, the more you try to be funny, the less funny you are. And when you're not trying to be funny, you're incredibly funny. And so this one is the former. Okay, it's just trying way too hard to be funny, and it just should just. In this case, when it comes to writing a screenplay, you can't just not do anything, right? I mean, you can't try. You can't, just relax and you'll naturally be funnier. Okay, you're gonna have to work harder. Okay, you're going to have to care a little bit more about the movie. And maybe get some different writers in there to make this thing funny. I mean, now there are some of the jokes in the movie that do land sometimes. I mean, Pitt's got some funny lines. It's not a complete whiff when it comes to the funny, but I think that what might have worked against this movie in my mind is the fact that Deadpool 2 is so hilarious. Okay, I mean, it's that screenplay just seemed effortless, and especially the first Deadpool. Now, David Leitch did not direct the first Deadpool. That was Tim Miller. But the Deadpool 2 was almost as good as the first one. And, yeah, that screenplay was just, that was a gut-busting screenplay. That was, the writing on that was fantastic. It no doubt helped that it had, the fantastic Ryan Reynolds, to deliver the funny and deliver the lines masterfully as he does. I mean, he's just a naturally just. It's almost like Deadpool was created for Ryan Reynolds to play him. This one does not have the luxury of Ryan Reynolds, or does it? I don't know. You'd have to watch. Yeah. I mean, this, like I said, Pitt has some funny lines. He's not as funny as he was in Quentin Tarantino's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, but his character in this is almost like, they took his character, Cliff Booth, from Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and Cliff Booth couldn't be a stuntman anymore. And, like, after him and Leonardo DiCaprio in that movie at the end had to kind of part ways as friends because, Leonardo DiCaprio got married and Cliff Booth had to go separate ways. It's almost like Cliff Booth, decided to be a hitman or private detective. I'm not sure, like, what Brad Pitt's character is supposed to be in this movie. It's kind of a hodgepodge. It's mishmash. I've heard one person say that Brad Pitt's character in Bullet Train is supposed to be like a private investigator. It doesn't really seem like a private investigator. It seems more like a hitman, but who knows? But anyway, he's a guy, he's a character that knows how to take care of himself, knows how to fight, knows how to kick some butt and whatnot. So that's what he does in this movie, like he did in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. He kicked Bruce Lee's butt, in that movie, And so yeah, it's so I kind of chuckled to myself a little bit. It's almost like in this movie, yeah, he's basically Cliff Booth after he had to make a little career change as a private investigator / hitman. And so I thought that was kind of quirky. But Brad Pitt is. This is one of those. I heard somebody say that this is Brad Pitt's first action hero movie role. What? Did they not see Troy? I mean, the guy played Achilles. I mean, you don't get much more action hero than Achilles, okay? I mean, he was kicking butt and taking names in Troy. Then, right after that, he was in Mr. and Mrs. Smith, playing a secret agent, kicking butt and taking names in that movie. I mean, what? Like, we got, memory lapse, of everything before 10 years ago? So, no, this is not his first action movie, or movie playing an action hero. Not at all, okay? Now, one thing that I noticed about his character is he just outright just stole the hitman going to a therapist trope straight out of Grosse Point Blank, with John Cusack. In Grosse Point Blank, John Cusack played Martin Blank, and he was going to a therapist in that. Well, Brad Pitt's character in here, kind of steals that trope. So, not really original, but, it is what it is. And you'll notice his character is always, misquoting therapy affirmations, and that's supposed to be the ha-ha, comedy in this movie. Or it's one of the things that they wrote in there, this is to be the running gag in this movie. He's going to misquote, therapy affirmations, and Sandra Bullock's going to have to correct them, or someone's going to have to correct them. It's like, okay. I didn't think it was that funny, but I just think the writers were kind of phoning it in on that one. But, there's plenty of other things in this movie to kind of make up for that. So that's easily ignorable. Yeah, is that how you say it? Yeah, but and then also, there's little things in this movie, little quick things in this movie. There's don't blink or you'll miss it appearance, or there is a don't blink or you'll miss it appearance from Kimiko from The Boys. Yeah, so Karen Fukuhara herself, Fukuhara, sorry, from The Boys, who plays, like I said, Kimiko in that hit Amazon Prime TV show. She's got a very bit part in this show, so look out for her. She's got, it's a short but memorable or funny part in this movie. So, and this movie does have cameos in it. I had a feeling before I saw this movie. I was like, this movie kind of has that, we're gonna see some cameos feeling in it. I also got that feeling before I saw Free Guy. Okay, another Ryan Reynolds movie. Free Guy. It ended up having some cameos in that movie, and so this one just kind of gave me that vibe. I would bet dollars to donuts. I would bet a Logan action figure that this movie is going to have at least a couple of cameos. And sure enough, it paid off. Yes, ding, 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 ding. I was right. As always, of course. All right. You know what would also be all right is if I take another tug off the Dallas Blonde here. So I don't want to keep the lady waiting. So, excuse me. The home of movie reviews. Mixed with ice cold brews. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. But this movie is, like I said, it is a very exciting ride. It takes place on a bullet train, and obviously it's titled after that. It's very, very, very on the nose. That's for sure. Now, one thing I didn't realize until just earlier today is that Brad Pitt and Sandra Bullock, they swap bit parts in this movie. Okay, so Brad Pitt's obviously in this movie a whole lot, and then you'll see that Sandra Bullock is in this movie just a little bit. She's got a little bit part in it. She's obviously the voice on the phone that you heard there in the trailer and throughout the movie. But yeah, she shows up at some point in this movie in a very small part. And so they kind of reverse their roles there, because Sandra Bullock just had a movie called The Lost City where she starred in most of the movie, and Brad Pitt had a little small role in The Lost City. Now, The Lost City came out before Bullet Train, but actually Bullet Train was filmed before The Lost City, and Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt had such a good time, and so then Brad Pitt asked Sandra Bullock to be so Sandra Bullock and Brad Pitt had a great time, and so they asked Brad Pitt to go on The Lost City. Woo! That is confusing. That is what is in this Dallas Blonde? Let me check a look at the ingredients. What is in that? Man, whoa! I'm losing my mind. Yes. All right. Keep it straight there, Van. Keep it straight. All right. And also, this movie has Aaron Taylor Johnson in it. Yes, Aaron Taylor Johnson. I know him. I first saw him in Kick-Ass. 12 years ago when he played like a little dorky, high schooler trying to be a superhero. And also he was in Tenet here recently. He was in the Godzilla movie a few years ago with him and Bryan Cranston. So he is definitely not little nerdy, twerpy kid from Kick-Ass anymore. His career is taken off. So yeah, because he's going to be the upcoming Kraven the Hunter movie. So he'll be playing Kraven the Hunter in that. And word on the streets is that his performance here in Bullet Train got him the Kraven the Hunter role, a acclaimed role, or a much sought after role for Aaron Taylor Johnson. So, his interplay between his character named Tangerine and then Brian Tyree Henry playing a character named Lemon. So them together, their interplay is, legitimately, it's engaging and very sincere. And so they just play a couple of hitmen. So they are definitely hitmen. They're not private investigators. They're definitely hitmen in this. And they do have a really good chemistry in this. So you might have seen Brian Tyree Henry in Eternals. Oh, wait, no. You probably didn't. Because me and like 5 other people saw Eternals, and the only reason I saw it is because I had to review it. Okay. But I fell asleep like halfway through that bad boy. But yeah, he was in see, I already forgot the name of the movie. It's so sleep inducing. Eternals, there you go. He was in Eternals. He's much better in this movie. He's not so pretentious as he was in Eternals. He's more down to earth and funny and engaging and humane, or he's like a human being in Bullet Train here. So, yeah, they him and Aaron Taylor Johnson just have this kind of Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid kind of chemistry between them. Just they give each other a hard time. It's kind of like a brother kind of dynamic. And now I got to say, Brian Tyree Henry, just his appearance, the dude looks a little out of shape. So it's hard to believe that he's actually a hitman. But, it's like several aspects of this movie where suspension of disbelief will serve you greatly. Okay. And again, this movie is not trying to be serious or anything like that. So, John Wick. Okay. John Wick this is basically from the creators of John Wick. Okay. And so John Wick tries to be, John Wick is a serious movie. I mean, it's mostly serious with every once in a while, very rarely does it throw any kind of humor in there. But John Wick is just purely serious. And this movie is kind of the exact opposite of that. It is not trying to be totally 100% or 97% serious. It's just trying to be a balls to the wall, kinetic, frenetic, energetic, action movie with a whole lot of humor in it. And so it's also very stylized. Okay, very stylized. It's got kind of a Quentin Tarantino vibe to it. One other knock on this movie is I think they cut away too much. They cut away to like past scenes too much. Cut away to like different flashbacks and that kind of thing. That has a time and place, right? That does suit and serve some movies very well, but not when you overdo it. Okay, as long as you don't overdo it, you should be good. And this movie just kind of just overdoes it a little too much. Some of the flashbacks do work, and the other ones are just okay. They're trying to be too stylistic in this movie, so just like dial it down a couple notches there. Bullet Train. So, or I should say, David Leitch. Speaking of David Leitch, so he's got a connection to Brad Pitt because actually he was Brad Pitt's stunt double in some earlier Brad Pitt movies. Okay, he was Brad Pitt's stunt double in Fight Club. Back in 98, 99. He was his stunt double in Troy, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith, and I think a few other Brad Pitt movies that I'm sure I'm missing here. But David Leitch was his stunt double. So we're going back a ways, as far as a Brad Pitt David Leitch connection, which I think is intriguing. I thought it was pretty cool. And if speaking of stunts, I mean, if the action in this movie looks like John Wick and the movie Nobody last year with Bob Odenkirk, when he was in that movie Nobody. Yeah, the action, it looks the same as those movies because it was done by the action design company called 8711, and 8711 was created by the director of this movie, David Leitch, and the director of John Wick, all the John Wick movies, Chad Stahelski. And Chad Stahelski, the most prominent actor that he is known for being the stunt double for is Keanu Reeves. Okay, so Chad Stahelski was Keanu Reeves' stunt double in the Matrix movies. And so that's probably has a little bit to do with why Chad Stahelski is the director of, John Wick with Keanu Reeves in it. So we got that connection. And so I got a feeling that they thought that the action in a lot of quote-unquote action movies just looked terrible, okay? Just looked atrocious. And they were like, well, instead of us griping about it, why don't we do something about it? We've recognized the problem. Instead of just griping about the problem, let's be the solution. And they are definitely the solution because I just love how they choreograph the fight scenes. They just make it look just raw and gritty, and it's not like the big, jump cut edits that you see in a lot of movies. So there's some movies where jump cut edits do work fine, like the Jason Bourne movies. I mean, those movies, it's just like, Matt Damon fighting somebody, it's like, it's just jumping, cutting, from shot to shot to shot to shot, like really quick edits during the fight scenes. And it works for the Jason Bourne movies. Don't ask me why it works for those. It works for the Bourne movies and not most others. I don't know. It's just something in the porridge, I guess, or of the Jason Bourne movies. But there is no need for the jump cut editing during the fight scenes with any movie that uses the action design company 8711. Okay, like Bullet Train. Because they've got it right. I mean, these guys are martial artists. Okay, these guys know the fight game. They know they're stunt guys, and this was their day job. Until they got to that point where they're like, they either realize, hey, we're getting way too old, and I don't heal as fast as I used to, or I'm just sick of falling off buildings, and I really want to get on the other side of the camera and be more of a creative. And that's definitely what former stunt guys David Leitch and Chad Stahelski have done. And their movies, I mean, they, for the most part, they are firing on all cylinders in their movies. I mean, have you seen a bad John Wick movie? I haven't. So Chad Stahelski's kicking butt. Nobody was a great one. So this Bullet Train is good. David Leitch's Deadpool 2, like I said, that's good. So they're doing not too shabby for a couple of meathead stunt guys, right? So, but so as if you couldn't tell, get out there, man. It's like make a point to just get out there and check out Bullet Train. It's an original movie. It deserves people to go out there and check it out. So it's a fun movie. It's entertaining. And with that, hey, allow me to thank you for listening to yet another episode of Movies Merica Podcast. Okay, again, it's on Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, Spotify. And again, feel free to give it a 5-star rating there on Apple Podcasts. Write a review. All right, everybody. And as always, get out there, people. Those movies aren't going to watch themselves. See ya.
Hey guys, don't leave the video quite yet. Okay, I've got the popo. They're coming after me, and I don't have much time to tell you, but you need to like and subscribe this video right here, down below. It's right down there. It's just waiting. It's waiting for you down there, okay? And make sure you watch these videos over here too. You'll be doing me a big favor. I'll be in handcuffs pretty soon. All right, thanks for watching.